Good morning, everybody. Bonjour à tous. Thank you. So, it's easy to feel a little paralyzed these days. There is a lot of doom and gloom, eco-anxiety, feelings of helplessness, and that's understandable. But this topic is all about how do we face the biggest challenges of our time with action, and how do we mobilize other people, the people next to you, into action as well. This topic, I have to say, I'm biased, but this is one of the topics at ChangeNOW I'm most excited about, very close to my own heart, and I see in my own daily work at ChangeMakerXchange, where we cultivate a community of young activists and change makers. And I'm Nick, I'll be your moderator for the next 1 hour and 15 minutes, and we'll see lots of different perspectives on action, from digital activism to catalyzing change within a big corporation. I want to do a quick experiment, though, before we start. And I'm going to ask all of the people on this front right row to put your hands up. Only you on this front right row, nobody else at the moment. And I would like you to wave them around, protest a little. Now, by my calculations, which is more or less correct, I think, thank you, that's enough, yeah, you did great. That is 3.5% of this room. So it seems maybe like they're just the crazy people on the front right, crazy minority. But actually, a lot of research has shown that no nonviolent protest that mobilizes 3.5% of people has ever failed. So this is all we need to mobilize, to make real progress, real action on climate change, among the other issues. So this makes it all a little more tangible. It's my absolute pleasure to introduce our first keynote, who has, I think, knows a thing or two about mobilization at scale. He's the Chief Creative Officer at UNDP, running a lot of big campaigns there. And UNDP, of course, have a critical role in whether we can achieve the Sustainable Development Goals. His name is Boaz Paldi. But before we welcome him, we have a little short weather report for you that I'll invite you to watch.
With the very special weather report. From up there to down here, everything is crazy. If we don't listen to scientists, things are going to be even crazier when I grow up. Let's look at the forecast for 2050. Heat waves will affect 94% of children, making playing outside a thing of the past. Extreme droughts will wipe out wheat crops, killing the one food my brother eats, bread. Disasters will cost taxpayers almost $6 trillion. My parents hate taxes. Of course, all of this is caused by a blanket of heat-trapping pollution in the atmosphere that we could just, not put up there. But don't worry, there's still a chance of clear skies. Right now, clean energy systems are moving in from the east to the west, creating tons of cool jobs. And solar prices have dropped lower than oil and gas. Going to the satellite, it looks like a high-pressure system of grown-ups could still move in and protect kids from an avalanche of really bad stuff. Some gusty political winds ahead, but they're no match for the power of Hurricane Felicia. That's my mom. We'll keep you posted as we track if adults stop wasting time and fix this totally solvable problem. Because it's not just a weather report to us, it's our future.
Thank you very much. It's very nice to be here. Paris. Now it's associated, it used to be associated with a good steak. Now it's associated with the place where the climate agreement was signed. And so that's Paris for me. So I'm very, very excited to be here. That was the hero film of the Weather Kids campaign. We launched this campaign on Thursday last week, on the 21st of March, in over 85 countries. Weather Kid films were created in more than 30 countries across the world in local languages with kids from that country. We had, forecasts we used the film as part of weather forecasts on privately owned and state-owned TV in all of those 85 countries. So we took over the airways in a really big way. CNN International aired a 22-minute segment on the Becky Anderson show on Thursday morning. Derek Van Dam, their chief weather reporter, incorporated this film into his own weather report. Early results show that we are successful. From Somalia to Argentina, from Rwanda to the United Kingdom, the weather kids were everywhere. Talking about the weather is no longer small talk. We used to talk about the weather when we didn't have anything better to talk about. We used to say, oh, it's a nice day. It's going to be rainy tomorrow. It's going to be sunny. Now it's breaking news every single day. We see very severe weather happening all over the world. We see more floods. We see more droughts, wildfires, increased storms. The largest storms in the world have happened just in the last year. And this keeps happening more and more. It's breaking news. It used to be at the end of the news segment, and now it's breaking news. And this is just the most visible part of the climate emergency. This is the part that we can see, that we can feel. The floods, I mean, if you happen to be affected by the floods, of course, if you were in Libya last year, that was a very stark example of that. Or if you were in Maui during the wildfires. So we thought, what if we let kids not talk about the weather of tomorrow and the next day and the next day, but tell us a little bit about the weather of what it will be like for when they're grown-ups in 2050. We used IPCC data and UNDP's own climate horizons to get a very scientific understanding of what those predictions could be. What life will be like in 2050 if we don't take climate action, if we don't do the things that we need to do now. And all of this to illustrate a very straightforward point. The climate emergency is not about me and you. It's a generational issue. I am pretty convinced that I won't be here when the worst of this catastrophe unfolds. My sons, Adrian, 11, and Cosmo, 6, will be paying the highest burden of the price. And so we need to make sure that we leave a better world for that generation. We need to remind ourselves that this is a generational issue, and we need to take climate action, of course. But the Weather Kids campaign is not a doom and gloom campaign. It's not about the fact that we're all going to die, because we're not. It's not about the fact that that there is no options, because there are options. This is exactly the opposite of a doom and gloom campaign. This is a campaign to inspire action, to empower people, and just like Nick said, to understand that we have the power to change this. We have the power to make a better world for future generations. And we need to keep the 1.5-degree dream alive. When parties met here in Paris in 2015, we got around the table with an understanding of an agreement of 3.5 degrees. We all know what that means. 3.5 degrees means there's no more humanity. 3.5 degrees means extinction, essentially, or close to it. Civilization as we know it would not exist with 3.5 degrees. Since then, we've come a long way. We're now in an agreement with countries, all 195 countries and territories, of 2 degrees. That means that we dropped by 1.5 degrees in the 10 years since the Paris Agreement, or not quite 10 years, but getting there, and we're on our way forward. And we believe very, very strongly at UNDP that we can reach the 1.5 degrees. We can come to the table in Brazil with 1.5 degrees on the table. But in order to do that, we need to reach everybody. We need all of us to take climate action. Every single one of us here. I mean, all of us here are committed. We're in the ChangeNOW conference. We are part of the solutions. But we need to include everyone in this. All of humanity. How do you reach all of humanity? What do you do? What's the mechanism to try and get everyone to take climate action, to try and get everyone to think about this every single day of their lives, which we're not doing, by the way. We calculate that about 80% of people around the world are completely aware of climate action and are not thinking that it's a Chinese conspiracy or any theory like that. They understand that it's man-made, they understand it's coming, and yet they're still not taking climate action. So how do we motivate them? Some people are, stuck in fear. The problem is too big. The solutions are too small. But that's not true. Solutions are there. We can make it better. We have the capabilities. We have the possibilities. Humanity has one of the greatest races on Earth, or is the greatest species on Earth, and we can do this together. So 1.5 years ago, more or less, 1.5 years ago, we set out to create this. But how do we reach people? How do we create audiences? And so a lot of planning, a lot of plotting, a lot of really prepping for this moment last week. And the first thing that we did was really try and see how we can reach people. As I said in the beginning, the Weather Kids launched last week, created in 30 languages, aired on TV. And really kind of like went a long way in reaching people. But we needed those partnerships in order to create that. We needed to reach people. We needed to reach out to those media companies. We needed to reach out to PR companies. We needed to every possible tool within our arsenal we needed to use in order to reach people. And that's what we did. We partnered with a company called Enzu. Enzu is a company that puts ads inside games. And so we reached the gaming industry. This morning I got an email from them, and just in the last 3 days, we've reached 7 million people on gaming platforms. And we're going to increase that as we move forward with the campaign. We got in touch with a company called Heijin. They're the top AI company on video in the world, and we were able to translate the film, except for the 30 films that were created at the national level in countries with kids in those national levels. We were able to reach another 20 languages using AI translation. And this can be used for deepfake, but this was used for AI for good. So we were able to use that technology to reach millions and millions of more people. We were able to reach an agreement, a partnership with an organization called the ICCO. The ICCO is the international trade body for all PR companies, about 3,000 members across the world. And we had 30 PR companies, some of them deep competitors, working for us to try and get as much earned media as possible. And of course, that bleeds then into social media, and will continue to bleed into social media, just the beginning of the campaign. So all this to say that we were able to reach those audiences using those partnerships. And Weather Company joined us in this campaign. The Weather Company from the United States gave us credibility. CNN, as I mentioned. And the World Meteorological Organization, based out of Geneva, we were able to reach Met offices around the world. The Met office in the UK did an incredible campaign across media in the UK. To do all this, we needed to have an action, a concrete action that people can take. And we send people to weatherkids.org. I invite you all to join us there and to sign a pledge to take urgent climate action on behalf of children in your life or the next generation. And once you sign that pledge to take climate action and you input the names of your kids, only first names for privacy reasons, we send you to a page of resources where you can take climate action, where you can have concrete ideas. I see my partner here sitting, Ingmar, from We Don't Have Time. Part of those actions sit with him, with how to move the money from place to place, from fossil fuels to sustainability. Many more actions are available on the website. I invite you all to watch it. Only in doing these things can we really find a solution to this. It sits with us. It sits with all of us. We're not to blame for it, but it sits with us, the solutions. There's no evil genius out there that somehow thought, I'm going to create the climate emergency to somehow destroy humanity. Humanity took a wrong turn. We found a cheap source of energy and we went for it, and we went for it big. And we didn't know when to stop, and we're still having trouble stopping. But the solutions are out there, and there's no evil genius, and it's up to us to find the right solutions. And it's up to us to all work together to take climate action today, not for us, but for the next generations. Because it's not just a weather report. It's the future of these children that are at stake here. Thank you very much.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Boaz, for setting just the right tone, I think, of action and hope and of intergenerational justice, which I'm seeing as more and more of a theme at this year's Change Now. We're now going to dive deeper into this topic. We have a really exciting panel discussion coming up. The aim of this panel, and what I'd love you all to go away with, is to surface some real concrete tips and tricks for mobilizing citizens into action. And to do that, I'm going to invite to the stage 3 brilliant environmental mobilizers. Welcome to the stage. Hands together for Ali, Matisse, and Jess. Welcome. Okay, awesome. So I'm going to do a quick intro round for each of them. And kicking off on my left, we have the wonderful Ali Waters Galán, Chief Pickup Officer at Kids Against Plastic, also karate brown belt, and lover of all things Harry Potter, and the youngest ever speaker at Change Now at 9 years old. Next, in the middle, we have Jess Pepper, founder and director of the Climate Café, who has an interesting fact about her. She loves to keep herself cheerful amongst all this action by holding discos in her kitchen, and has had a long journey by train, sleeper train from the snowy Scottish Highlands to get here. Welcome, Jess. And on my far left, we have Matisse De Rivieres, a climate campaign manager at Chilli, the world's first climate activism app. And her favorite thing, also a musical fact, is singing in cozy Paris bars with her best friend on the cello. Sounds lovely. Oh. Welcome, Matisse. Okay. I'd love to start with kind of a very quick, short, sharp intro to your work, mobilizing people into action, kind of 1.5, 2 minutes each, and we'll go in order for this one. Ali, Jess, Matisse. Go for it. Floor is yours. What are you doing at Kids Against Plastic?
Well, I'm a bit nervous, so... Kids Against Plastic is a British charity formed by Amy and Ella Meek when they were 10 and 12 years old, with goals to empower and educate kids and young people. And I joined about 3 years ago, I think. I'm not very sure anymore.
When you were 6?
No, 7.
Seven. Okay.
And, well, they encouraged me to do my campaign, the Ali's 1 million litter pick, with a goal to pick up 1 million pieces of litter in 1 year, and to educate people about plastic production and pollution.
Brilliant. And where are you at in that 1 million litter pick journey?
There's something really good about it. Well, me and my mum and my dad, we came to Paris from Seville by car. It was a very long, tired journey. And, well, we did litter picks along the way. It felt really good because it was really, like, not doing good, my campaign, until we came. And when we came, it was boosted up by 12,000 pieces.
Okay. Amazing. Thank you. And you're now more than 270,000, right? Pieces. Yeah, amazing. And came by electric car from Seville. Okay, Jess, up next.
Hello, I'm here with Climate Café, which is an initiative that started in rural Scotland in 2015. where we realized that our community was not talking about climate change, and we really needed to get talking. I'm a climate reality leader, so I was aware that once people feel confident and informed about all the science and the impacts and the solutions, that they really want to chat about what happens next and what they can do to get involved in tackling the climate crisis. So this space was created initially in a rural village, and it brought lots of people together. It was very intergenerational, very creative, and other communities liked the idea, so started to create climate cafe spaces in their own communities. And these meet on a regular basis. They're just a pop-up space, a cup of tea and a biscuit, maybe cake if you're lucky, and people chat. And what we know now is that after 9 years of experience, when people come together and they chat and they really care and they connect, then the magic happens and we get sparks of action. And the action that comes out of climate cafes we have discovered to be remarkable. So it starts with individuals and it starts with communities and a chat, but then it develops into connecting with other communities and across regions and local government listening in and systems change and creating political space and space for businesses and others to move further and be involved in the conversation and the solutions as well.
Awesome, thank you. Love how that, well, okay, getting early rounds of applause here. Love how such big action starts with a cup of tea and a biscuit and relationships forming. Love that. Matisse.
Hi, I'm Matisse, and I work for Chilli. It's a platform that coordinates climate activism. We are informed by grassroots activism and experts, scientists and researchers. And basically what we do is we coordinate actions on the enablers, mainly of the fossil fuel industry. The enablers are all of those people that are benefiting from an industry, but that are invisible. So it means the banks, the insurances, the asset managers, the suppliers, the furnishers, the consulting firms, the lawyers. And we do that research to make sure that we apply the pressure on exactly the relevant layers of the system that will make our activism kind of surgical. The aim in all of this is to increase the financial risk of investing in those companies in which projects that are defined by climate science. So we have a platform on which people can take action every day. They can support the actions of activists and researchers by sending mails, commenting, sharing, and kind of echo the work of the grassroots mobilization.
Awesome. Thank you, Matisse. Love that precise, strategic approach to activism that you have. And I'd love to get into the weeds a little of your work here. I'd love to know what's your magic tricks, what's your secret sauce for inspiring other people, other kids into getting involved in this? Maybe Ali, would you like to kick off?
Well, it's really easy, to be honest. You just have to, well, I don't really know. It's just something I do. It's just natural. I normally do talks in my classes, in like classes of my school, and I make them fun, so they get involved because they've been talked to about everything that they didn't know before, and I kind of just make things fun.
Wow, okay. I think that's an awesome tip for all of us, actually, that this doesn't have to be all dark and gloomy and it has to be fun. And I remember you saying in our preparation meeting that at the end of one of your pickups, you went and had a big trampolining session, right?
Yeah, with Kids Against Plastic.
Okay, cool. That is definitely fun. What would either of you like to add to that and build on it? What's your secret sauce?
To activate people?
Yeah.
I think on our side for activism, it's kind of reminding people that activism works. With very few capacity, we've managed to make divestment of some of the biggest banks. We have passed some crucial regulations on nature restoration law, and we have pushed for policy change for some of the biggest agro-businesses. And so, yeah, reminding that activism works, and if you have €1 to put somewhere, let me tell you about the return on investment of activism. So that's the thing, but also it works sometimes, not always, and we're not doing it because it works, we're doing it because it's fair, and there's this book named Plutôt couler en beauté que flotter sans grâce, and it means doing it because with integrity, because you don't want to fail. You want to fail with integrity and dignity, and you don't want to succeed otherwise. And so, I'd say telling people it works, but also telling people it's fair.
Nice. Okay, love this. So we've got keeping it fun, telling people it works. Would you add anything else to that?
Yeah, pick up on both of those strands, that the climate cafes are community-led, and where they see inspiring action and where they see change happening, that can create an engaging space, and it allows people to see that change is possible and what is possible when we all come together, how much can be done and how much can be achieved. And that builds momentum, it feels good. You can add some cake into there, that always helps, but going to people where it fits for them, where it works for them, the local leadership, the local conversation, and then it's relevant for everybody who's involved matters too.
Okay, so meeting people where they're at. Cool, I love those tips. And also maybe to bring it all to life a little more. I won't ask all of you this, but maybe Ali, if you can start. What's one kind of quick, tangible, I know you know that word now, success story from your own work?
Well, Nick, I could give you 1,000. If you look at my map on the web, on the Kids Against Plastic web, there are little pigs all around the world. In India, in Australia, in South America. But the one that's really important to me is my class, Quinto A, getting involved in everything.
Okay, and they all lined up to say goodbye to you?
They all made a little passageway for me to walk through. It was really nice. It was really nice to walk through.
To send you on your way to Paris. Nice, awesome, thank you. Jess, you want to also give a real tangible example, story of impact from climate cafes?
Sure. For me personally, the most inspiring stories have come from the children and young people who've led the conversation and informed the adults and led on action. But a super practical example is in one village, they reduced their water use and improved their water efficiency by 1 million litres by working together over a year. And in another community, sneaking in another example, they reduced fuel poverty significantly, helping 3,000 households and installing 140 renewable energy devices, just starting from a chat that created an organisation and new jobs in the area as well. So really part of a just transition as well. Yeah.
Okay, brilliant. Thank you for sharing. You're all being so concise and economical with time that I've also got time for you, Matisse, to give us what's one of your big activism success stories from the Chilli app. Can you talk us through it a little bit?
I think what we do well is kind of damage the social license of those companies without digging into a specific campaign. And I'm happy if you guys can join us and look a bit more into the different campaigns that we are having. But I think it's a success for us to educate people on the role and the multifaceted way on which enablers of the fossil fuel industry are benefiting from this industry. And I think we are educating a lot on the amount of actors that are dependent and that are benefiting from it. And so, I mean, as I mentioned earlier, kind of putting pressure on invisible actors that are not used to reputational pressure, I think is a win. And we've managed some big partnerships to divest from X or Y company because we've put the pressure about a project that was really problematic. And so those are different wins, but it's also a manner of doing activism that is really targeted that I think is a success in its methodology.
Thank you for sharing. Also on the drilling in Arcasson in the south of France.
Yes, there are some oil drilling that are being constructed in Arcachon. It's new oil drilling, and it's pretty paradoxical because France is as a leader in terms of the phasing out of fossil fuel, especially in its own territory. Even though it's only a small portion of the oil consumption of the French people, these oil drilling are highly symbolic, and they're submitted to a treaty which is named the Charter Energy Treaty, that has been signed by Canada and France, and it's a protection of investment treaty, and basically it allows company to pressure pressure countries not to drill if they do those investments that go against the financial interest of the company. And basically, Vermillon Energy, it's a Canadian company. They are implanted in France. They are doing those oil drilling, and they are, in between other factors, pressuring the French government to maintain also those drillings. And it's also important to have an international regulations perception when we look at those subjects.
Okay, awesome. And I think you're bringing up a really important point there on power dynamics, and that mobilization also needs speaking truth to power. I know on your tagline you have that the power of the people is stronger than the people in power. And Ali, I'd love to bring you in here, because I know at one of your other recent talks at the World Retail Congress, you did a bit of speaking truth to power, right?
Yes, well, I kind of roasted Primark and Mango. And after the talk, like, the CEO of Primark came up to me and he said, next time you're in England, well, just give us a call because we can arrange a meeting. So a couple months later, I went to England. We went to Primark, told them what had happened, and apparently they were too busy to talk to us.
Ah, okay, that's not cool. And how did you roast them?
Well, I kind of said they should have more sustainable second-hand things in their shops. And the CEO of Primark after also came up to me and said, oh, we have 5 shops in the whole world with second-hand booths. So, yeah.
Awesome. Okay, I love that. How is that important in either of your work too? Changing those power dynamics? Jess, maybe you want to?
Yeah, the opportunity to come together when we're having conversations in our own communities and then they're connecting up and more chat is happening. That's building political space as well, so people can move further. So Climate Cafe networks and other networks can support initiatives like Chilli and like Ali's and get behind them, and that grows the movement and grows change, and that's powerful stuff. That allows the political space to grow and their decision makers to go further, but also others to go further and be bolder too.
Yeah, thank you for sharing. And do you find that people stepping into their power?
I mean, yeah, for sure. And I think the EU Parliament is really a good place to demonstrate the power imbalance. We're working a lot against the lobbying, the industry lobbyists, and they're very omnipresent. And many climate scientists are worried about the omnipresence of the industry lobbying in the EU Parliament. And we citizens have to mobilize and have to make our voices heard for those that are not heard. And I mean, it's a number that is always shocking to me, but there are 50,000 people, 50,000 lobbyists every year in Brussels. And as you can imagine, it's a lot of budget. And who has that budget? It's not citizens' report, it's not NGOs' report, it's the industry. But lobbying is healthy in a democracy if it's balanced rightly by citizens' pressure, by citizens' mobilization, by kind of this horizon of the common interest. And so, to me, really, the EU Parliament is a good demonstration of power imbalance, but also how, with few capacity, if we mobilize rightly on the right people, we do make changes. Because those deputies, they're not visible. And so if we demand them accountability for what they've been elected for, they'll give it to us. So it's also a question of how to mobilize, and I think, and then I'll be done, but I think Chile is really a good democratic tool in the sense that it gives back the power to the people in their hands, even for those that don't have the time. And if you don't have the time to get involved in such enormous subjects, such as the fossil fuel lobbying in the EU Parliament, which is not very accessible, you can support us and you can support the people that are on the ground looking and doing the research to kind of make sure the common interest keeps being the priority.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you. And I think that can help to get us out of that helplessness and into action. What I'm hearing a lot throughout a lot of this work is young people at the forefront of it all, but also with a lot of successful intergenerational collaboration. Jess, maybe you can give us a little taste of how that has worked at Climate Café and also with your own presence here at ChangeNOW.
So something that I'm reflecting on hearing from Ali and Matisse is that climate cafes are inclusive spaces, so they create space for all voices to be heard. And sometimes at COP26, for example, that was including the voices of Indigenous peoples, those who are on the front line of climate impacts, from women and young people, children. Children and young people have shaped the movement of the climate cafes, as I mentioned, in many different ways, of course. And the learning that their elders have done has been really important. So we've seen when children and young people have gone on climate strike, for example, a whole community learn and understand why they're doing that and get behind them and support that. But it might also be programs to improve the recycling infrastructure across a community. The leadership has been awesome. One of our directors has been involved since she was 11 and she's now 20, and she informs and keeps us in touch with what we should be thinking about all of the time across the network. Here we are in Paris, and it's really nice to have a small team with us. Two of my co-founders who joined me at the very first Climate Cafe and have washed up a lot of mugs and dragged a lot of tables around since are joining us at the booth, which you can come and see and chat about a Climate Cafe. And if you might be tempted to create that kind of space in your community, then that's something that we can support you with now. We have a hub that connects and supports new climate cafes and those who are existing around the world as well.
Awesome, thank you for sharing. And Ali, Kids Against Plastic is also getting grown-ups into action as well, right?
Yeah. Well, there's on the tickets on the lanyards, my nanny, she's got one and it says Kids Against Plastic on it. So yeah, and there's this thing called Big Kids Against Plastic. There's my dad, all the dads and all the mums involved in it. So that's really good to see.
Awesome. And we also have your great-grandmother with us today, who has also been part of Litter Picks as well, right?
Yeah, she has.
Shout out to her, maybe.
Yeah.
Welcome. That is real intergenerational collaboration. Matisse, how much are young people leading in Chile, and how core do you think they are to the various movements that you're running on there?
They're very young, and it's a lot of women. It's... it's very feminine. Activism is very... It's really a lot of women. We give ownership based on people's willingness to get involved, not on the diplomas, not on their experience. And you'd be very much surprised how those people can really well understand the complexities of the system if you give them the tool to do so. And I mean, it sounds unrealistic to lead a campaign on a bank when you are 20, but we have many people with us that are actually doing it, and they're leading campaigns on, I don't know, Google, because its pension fund is invested in Vanguard, that is investing in fossil expansion in the Amazon. And it's a girl that is 20 that is leading that. And we have also younger people, especially in the US, because, I don't know, maybe there is less barrier in terms of psychologically, how can I get involved? In the US, it feels like US people are leading younger campaigns. We have a girl, she's leading all by herself a campaign strategically from A to Z on a coal mine in Tennessee. And she is just so inspiring. She's working with local communities, with local mayors, with deputies. She's working at the state level. She's working at the federal level. And that girl is so young. And I think when you give the tool and you tell people they can do so, it's really surprising how they take their ownership and they come to understand the complexities of what it implies.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's very young.
Brilliant. Super happy to hear. And yeah, it's young people moving the needle on this issue more than any other demographic, I think. Our timer has gone red. So we'll start to very slowly wrap it up. And I think, I hope you agree, this has been extremely inspiring input, but inspiration is not enough. We need to turn that inspiration into action. So I'd love to leave you all, give you all the chance for a closing message to the audience. What are the actions that you would love them to go away and take with them? And how can they support your work also? Let's go this time down the line this way. So Matisse and Ali, you get the last word.
I think the first thing is, if you can and if you feel aligned, support activists and maybe break the psychological barrier of making activism such a distant manner of acting. It's not that far away from us, and those people really are like us. So support activism is, I'd say, a first step. And of course, the second step, if you're here today, it's probably that you care. And so, yeah, join us on Chile, come to see our campaigns and see if maybe you want to lead one also. So, yeah.
And they can download it on...
yeah, exactly. You can download it. So we are on the Apple Store only at the moment, but you can download it CHILLI.
Awesome. Thank you. Jess, what action do you want people to take and how can they support Climate Café?
I'd love everybody to think about where the chat is happening in your community, perhaps in a workplace or on campus, even a school, or in your local community or your community of interest. And if you can create a space to have that chat, and if you would like to have it on a regular basis, get in touch. We can support you to connect you to lots of other communities who are doing exactly that. And I'd also suggest maybe looking around. There are a lot of women in this movement, children, young people as well, and others who maybe don't get seen and heard and supported and valued and resourced as much as they should. So maybe look around, and if somebody's doing something close to you and you can support them, or you can get behind them and work together, or give them space to share what they're doing and applaud that, celebrate that in your own community or your own workplace or your own school, as Ali's peers did, which sounded fabulous, then let's do that. Yeah, this is a can-do place. Let's get doing.
Awesome, thank you. Love the can-do mentality. Ali, what's your message for everyone?
Well, I kind of just want everyone to raise awareness because it's kind of like me. My dad told me, my mom told me, I told my friends told their family, and then it just spread. So I just want people to raise awareness to their friends and family.
So it becomes like a snowball effect.
Yeah.
And how can they support your work, or Kids Against Plastic, or get involved?
Well, it's pretty simple. Even if you just pick up one piece of litter a year or a day or a month, and just post it on Instagram, my dad will see it, and then he'll add it to the million litter pick, and that would be very helpful.
Oh, okay. You can all be part of this 1 million litter pick.
Anyone can be part of it.
Anyone, by following Kids Against Plastic on Instagram.
Yeah.
Right? Awesome. I'd love you to all go and do that as well. Woo! Okay, thank you so much. I think we met our objective of this panel, of getting into the details of how to mobilize people. I'd love to say a big thank you to all your secret magic tips. Thank you for your incredible dedicated work and activism. And thank you all of you for your time spent watching and for your really, we felt the warmth and encouragement of your support there. Thank you, everyone. Thank you. Thanks. Okay, and next up, we have a little bit of a surprise for you. So don't go anywhere. I know I saw some of you trying to sneak out. For some of you who are mental learners, maybe this panel was perfect. Some of you maybe prefer to learn with your bodies or you're more physical learners. This one will be for you. I'm not going to give you any other framing than that and let you interpret it how you like. Okay, welcome to the stage, the little surprise. Okay, brilliant. Can we have another round of applause? That was Minuit 12. Awesome group of young artists using dance as a form of artistic fight for climate justice. You can check out their Instagram and website to follow them, Minuit 12. Thanks again. And next up, it's my absolute total pleasure to introduce a real favorite of the stage at ChangeNOW, a real ambassador for the movement as well. It's the head of sustainability at ACCOR and former French Secretary of State for the Environmental Transition, where she worked on the anti-waste law, the Fashion Pact, and many other things. Big warm ChangeNOW welcome to Brune Poirson. Welcome.
Welcome.
Thank you. Just host you a little
I'm not going
here.
to dance.
Okay. Me neither. Although I did fall over walking up the stage on my first. Okay, so Brune, love to kick off and share a little about your quite unique, I think, personal journey in this, transitioning from being the person making the laws to now in a very exciting position of implementing some of those laws. Can you share a little about your personal journey?
First of all, I cannot help but repeat how happy I am to be at ChangeNOW, because I think now what we see here and what we sense is a real sort of movement. And I think that's exactly what we need. We need obviously more and more people, but more and more people as well, taking really the risks of being involved and either coming here, talking, but also bringing all the energy, because I think that the winds that are coming are going to be quite actually, if you allow me to say that, it may not be a very positive way to start the day and the discussion, but it might be a wave that is perhaps not as optimistic as or sort of positive as we would have hoped. I can see that now that we're getting into concrete things when it comes to sustainability, there's a tendency to sort of move back. And so that's why a place like this is extremely important, and we need to push extremely hard. And why am I saying all this? It's not completely not linked to your question. It's, I guess, one of the reasons why I decided to leave politics and get into the private sector was really because I think now, if you want to push and have a movement, and that movement that I was describing, move forward, you need action. And you need people who change things in the real life. That's what's difficult, and that's what matters. It's the best way of bringing people together and the best way of actually showing that the transition can happen is by showing concrete things, concrete action at all levels. And this is one of the reasons why I changed and I moved from the public sector, i.e. politics, to the private sector.
Awesome, thank you for sharing. And I think, so you're working in sustainability, but
Yes.
I was looking at some of your articles. One thing really struck me was you're saying it's not just the job of the sustainability officer or department, but that it's about making sustainability every employee, everyone's business. And you have, under the wider ACCOR umbrella, I think 300,000 employees, so a lot of potential there. How do you do that? How do you go about that?
Well, I guess you also have to ask a lot of the great team members that I have here in the room who are behind all this movement, They feel, I think what really matters first is obviously sustainability cannot be the job of the sustainability team. It's too easy to do that. It's really, and we have to share, obviously, the responsibility. But how do you do that? I think one of the best ways is by empowering people as much as we can so that they become themselves real ambassadors and push for change at every level of the company. And I think we'll come back to that later in the conversation. But what matters is that these ambassadors push as hard as they can everywhere they are. However, let's not be naive. I still think that we need a sustainability department. And I still think that this department needs to be empowered. Because what I'm noticing also today is that part of this wing of wind of change or wind or movement to sort of slow things down as we're getting more and more concrete about making change in the real life in terms of sustainability. What happens is that there are a lot of what happens is that you have some people who actually say, well, sustainability is everybody's job because it's a way of diluting responsibility. So I still think, yes, sustainability is everybody's job. We're pushing hard through a host of measures throughout the company, and I'll come back to that. We have wonderful ambassadors and team members. But what also really matters is to have a strong sustainability department that is strong enough to push against those who would say, you know, let's move forward, but not too fast.
Okay.
So, not naive. Yes, it's a global movement within the company and across the world, but you still need people really empowered to lead and push for sustainability as fast as possible and as far as possible.
Okay, love that. So there is a bottom-up
Yes.
dimension of getting people into action,
Yes.
and you're hinting at it there. There's also definitely a top-down approach, and I think something super impressive about your work at ACCOR is that this is really embedded at the very highest
Absolutely.
levels. You're an ex-com member yourself. Can you tell us a little how that works, that other companies in the audience watching, for example, might take some example and inspiration from?
I think one of the things that we did is that I encourage, and I say when I encourage, i.e. I did not create, it's really employees who decided to come together and come up with a movement again, or as you would say, if you allow me the comparison, I would almost say a political party that is pushing super hard within the company to do two things. First, so the movement, this movement of employees, they're coming together and then pushing hard for sustainability. It's called SEED. That's how it's called. It's an employee resource group, you would say. And really their role and the way they see themselves is first to keep all the leaders of the company accountable. I.e., you said that in 2008 the company would do this and that, or that by 2030 we were going to achieve this and that. Show me what you're doing and show me how you're really doing that. And so I think it's important to have a group of employees that keep leaders accountable. The second thing as well that they do is that they push for innovations. They push for new ideas, and that's critical. What I say is, like, I want to work around the company with people actually sort of having a go at me, or like telling me where you should move fast enough, you should have done that, you should have done this. We need pressure. Just like externally in the global, I mean, just like in society you have, or in politics, you have the Green Party movement, I think you need the equivalent inside the company. Unless you create that, we won't have enough accountability for leaders to really take the risk and fully embark into sustainability. That said, you know, your question is really about the bottom-up versus the top-down, you know, what matters. That said, I think you also need both. Obviously, you need to foster local innovation, so you need to foster employees pushing hard. You need to foster local innovations, and we have great examples of that. For example, in Dubai, during the COP28, a group of chefs came together and just changed the whole menus and decided to really cook and have much less meat, if zero meat, in the dishes that they cooked. And these were sometimes chefs of like all types of restaurants. So by local innovation, you can identify things that you can push throughout the company, obviously. So bottom-up initiatives are critical. But let's not be naive. I also strongly believe in the top-down initiatives. Unless you have that, you cannot change the deep structure of the company. So what did we do? We put, obviously, bonus and intensive plans in all the employees. We worked hard with the board of directors as well, so that they come up and they create a committee. And I think this involvement of the top management is critical if you want to lead change at a systemic level.
Okay, love it. And what did that, getting some claps there.
And what you should ask for leaders to be even more accountable, I think. Yeah. Anyway, but we'll come back to that.
What did that result in? What is like 1, 2 very quick examples that you're super proud of and big changes that were made?
I mean, there are thousands of great examples, and I was, the team again is here doing all the hard and great work. For example, one of the things that we did, we thought, and we'll come back to that, but for example, in the luxury sector, not everywhere, but for one of our most iconic brands, we decided to move away from buffet breakfasts. You know how a lot of you maybe, and I know perhaps you've traveled with your families, one of the things that people really look forward in hotels is like the breakfast in the morning. You know, it's like very lavish, plenty of food, and a lot of time people go to hotels and enjoy hospitality for that. We decided to get rid of buffets because of all the all the waste and the food waste that it produces. Again, I was telling you about this Dubai example, but we have a host of other examples that show that things can really happen at the bottom and then be duplicated in the rest of the company. But again, I want to insist on this top-down. I mentioned the bonus in everybody's pay. I mentioned also the fact that the board of directors created an ESG committee specifically to look at this question.
Okay, thank you. And I want to pick up on something you said there and ask maybe a little more provocative question. You mentioned the luxury hotels and the buffet breakfast. Do you think that that there can be such a thing as sustainable luxury? Or do you think we actually might also need to reframe a little what our definition of luxury is, make some sacrifices in guest experience, in profitability even? What are your thoughts on that?
So I'm going to be super blunt. I think you cannot, something cannot be luxurious if it is destroying either individuals or the planet. So we have to come up with a whole new definition of what luxury is. It's a huge task. I'm not saying, we're trying. I'm not saying we've succeeded in doing that. But you guys, if some of you have, and I'm sure a lot of you have, ideas in the room, please come and help us. But we have to redefine what luxury is. And we have to redefine the way we travel. It's not about traveling as fast and as far as you can. It's really about enjoying more local experiences for longer term. But luxury in itself, it's not necessarily, and it should no longer be about abundance. I mentioned buffet breakfast, and it should not be also one of the things that we're really working on is the water issue. In a lot of hotels, you have individual swimming pools. How can that be luxurious? I'm really wondering. And I think the answer is that it cannot be. So we have to work together to redefine completely, really, the criteria for luxury hospitality. And I'm sure a lot of you can help us do that by asking for more experience over material goods, by also asking about where the things that are being served, where do they come from, by investigating the surroundings of the hotel. By all of that, it's important. Why am I insisting on that so much by saying involving people? Is because a lot of the time when people go to hotels and in the hospitality business, they're like, I'm on holiday, it's my week, so I'm just going to enjoy. I'm going to eat beef at every meal, I'm going to just enjoy. And when I come back home, I'll figure out and I'll go back to, trying to do. And we want to say, let's do the opposite. We are lucky enough to have people in our hotels stay with us for like a whole night, an evening, a morning. That's a lot of time. So we have to work with them to share some of the key messages. How can people, when they stay with us, go back home with a new vision and with a new habit? That's what we want to do. That's what we want to achieve, because luxury, as it is done today, at least in our sector, is completely contradictory with protecting the environment. We are changing that fast, but we still have a lot of work ahead of us.
Awesome. I love that response.
I'm being a bit blunt, but...
Yeah, I love the bluntness and the ambition behind it. And I think, touching on that ambition, so hotels throughout history have really set the standard. Yes. They've been amongst the first buildings with air conditioning, with flushing toilets, with hot water, etc. Do you think hotels can play a role? Because at the moment, to be, again, blunt or critical, they're not really leading the way in terms of sustainability. Can they do that? And
they have to do that. We have no choice. they have to do that. I was lucky enough in a way to be in China, and I know it's bad. I flew, but I have to admit, and then we'll come back to that perhaps, that it's also important to perhaps get out of your own environment and figure out how the rest of the world lives. And clearly, again, I'm going to be blunt, there's no room in their minds, and there's no way we can tell them that they should stay at home. They will want to travel. So, hospitality and the way the business, ACCOR, as a company was created, the vision of the founders was to say, we need to build a place that is better than home. And I think this vision is really important. And that's why we created flush toilets, showers, individual rooms with showers next to it. I mean, the whole hotel was completely new, and it was a place that was even more comfortable than home. Today, we have to use that vision and turn it in favor of sustainability. So we have to reinvent everything. We know we have to do that. That's what we are doing by working hard on that with the type of food that we're preparing for our guests and that we're serving, by the way we use water, by the way we build our hotels, by the way we decide to collaborate with the communities, by the way as well we train and we hire and we make people grow. And this, I think, is the vision, building a place that is better than home. That's our vision. That's what we want to do. We will, again, need the help of our guests to tell us how to do that. But there's no other way, because people will keep traveling. People will want to travel. And so for us, it's a unique opportunity to reinvent who we are and the way we do things. And again, because it's so close to, because people stay with us for so long, in a way, we can really influence their behavior, and they come back, and they can come back home and strive to build a place or a home or a set of habits that is as good as what it is or what it should be in a hotel. So that's the vision, and the teams are working really hard on it.
And the hotel chains under your umbrella, they're receptive to that, they're excited about it?
I mean, not only are they receptive to that, but they're really leading on that. Mm-hmm. A lot of them, we're working with, for example, we're working with one of them on causes, so on issues that really matter to their identity and to their brands, let's say on the ocean or on issues like this that can really transform things for the better. So yes, not only are they aware of it, but they know that there's no other way. There is no other way. So yes, they're embracing it.
Thank you. I'm very happy to hear that. And I'd love, our timer is on red already somehow. I would love to have you for another 20 minutes. But I'd love to kind of close this up on a more personal note. We definitely need more leaders like you within businesses. What would you say has been your mindset, and what mindset would you like the audience to go away with, and tying it back to the topic of this panel around moving from individual to collective action? What mindset do we need?
I think what we need is to spend more time with people who think differently than us, because it really helps us actually become more innovative. I know that's a bit of a cliche, but I think us, sustainability people, if you allow me, or people who work in sustainability, I think we need to make even more efforts to reach out to people who don't think like us. So I would say all of us, at the end of the day, we have to have had, perhaps, if not every day, at least every week, coffee with either someone who really doesn't like us or really doesn't like what not us as an individual, but the ideas that we're pushing. It is the only way we will understand better how to convince and how to bring people on board. But maybe one last thing as well, and I should have perhaps started my answer with this, would be more what you guys have to tell me, or I would love, very often, I don't want to sound patronizing. I need to be patronized. I don't always know exactly what to do, and I need to hear and listen more, for example, to young people or to people who think obviously different than me. So in the audience, I hope at the end people will come to me, and if not now, and even if I don't like it, just tell me the truth. And I think that's how we also need to work together instead of keeping patronizing either other people or younger people.
Brilliant. I love that ending note. You should, by the way, talk to Ali, 9 years old
I
from
know,
the
I
panel.
heard that.
She's going to tell you the
exactly.
truth.
That was great.
For sure. Okay, so that is, I think, a beautiful note to end it on. It's an invitation to hold your business leaders to account and also to get out of your comfort zones, talk to people with different perspectives, and move us all into action. Thank you so much, Brune. It was a total pleasure. Thank you, everyone. And thank you so much for attending this session. I hope you took a lot out of it. Thank you.